Auburn stays undefeated in the SEC. They take down LSU 93-78. Welcome on into this special live reaction of Locked On Auburn. I'm Zach Blackerby. He is Darrell Dapprich, Montgomery radio legend. And Darrell, it got a little hairy there for a second. Auburn was up as much as 28. They kind of took the pedal off the gas for a second. Maybe a little bit of a lesson learned here for this Auburn team.
I think so. I think it's a takeaway. It's an incredible coaching and teaching moment for Bruce Pearl when you end up winning a basketball game by 15 and you say, okay, there's a stretch there that really can't happen. If we want to achieve what we want to achieve, this is Bruce Pearl talking to his team, you cannot be up 28 with 11 minutes to go and let LSU get within 9 with about 3 minutes to go. That cannot happen. And it happened because I think Auburn got a little relaxed, a little complacent. Some of the lineup changes, I get it. You know, you're up 28. I think the only question at that point was going to be, was Auburn going to win by 40? I mean, it looked that way. And credit LSU. Now, part of this, you got to give LSU credit because that kid that hit 4 straight threes, they weren't easy shots. They had people, he had people in his face. And, you know, you hit 12, you go on a 12-0 run like that, and you're down 16 that quick. So give LSU credit. They didn't quit. They started hitting threes, insane threes. But to Auburn's credit, they stemmed that tide and got it back up to like 16 or 17 and then closed out winning by 15, which looks a lot better. They cover, there's a lesson to be learned there that Bruce Pearl, it's a teachable moment, and you get to learn that lesson by winning 15.
Yeah, I think this is a situation where it could have been a lot worse, but the fact that Auburn was so much better than LSU prior to the final 10 minutes or so, I think it's a blessing for this team because Auburn is significantly better than LSU. And I think this is a great situation. You get the win, you cover. It still looks good. 93-78 looks good for the poll voters that don't watch college basketball games. And I think just the general aspect of, okay, you can now, if you're Bruce Pearl, you have plenty of things to knock them off their high horse. Who cares about this winning streak? You should have lost, LSU. I don't think that's true, but he can use that from a coaching standpoint when they're going through film. I think this is a good thing as far as being able to teach this team because, look, it's just going to get tougher. It's just going to get tougher from here.
Here's what I think, can't guarantee, but here's what I feel pretty confident about. The next time you see Auburn play and they're up 18, I don't think you're going to see this kind of relaxation. I think Auburn will put a team away up 18 like they've done earlier in the year, put their foot on their throat. That's the lesson learned here. When they get into that territory again or get up 28, when they get up 28, that won't happen. This will be something that they draw from because let me say this, up to that point, it was about as good. It was a clinic. James Naismith couldn't have written it up any better when he invented basketball with peach baskets, the way Auburn was playing. They were so unselfish. They were sharing the basketball. Aiden Holloway, who was red hot, had a chance for a layup, and he spins and dumps it off to Denver Jones. The way they were defending, my goodness, there was nothing. It was a clinic. And, you're looking and going, okay, Auburn's up 28 with 11 minutes to go. This could get to 40. And, again, LSU hit some shots that kind of just got crazy. But I think you make a great point. And I think this is such a teachable moment that I guarantee you when Auburn gets up 28 next time in a game, whoever they're playing ain't going to cut it to 9. This was something that they will draw from. So at the end of the day, another great point that you make is a lot of people that vote in these polls just check scores. They look at stats, they check scores,
and they copy Ken Palm unless it's Auburn, right?
And net, whatever happens with the net situation too. So I think that all in all, Bruce Pearl right now is tearing into that tail in the locker room about what happened during that from 11, that 8-minute stretch. Was just. It was when you go back and look, and I don't have the numbers, it'd be interesting to see what Auburn was outscored. Well, I mean, obviously they were up 28 and they won 15, so they were outscored by 13. But there was a point there where it was like it seemed to be like 18-4 or 18-2. Can't happen. So it won't happen again.
Auburn made 5 of its last 7 field goal attempts. That's interesting. So they technically did close. I know this chat is more angry than I expected them to be after an SEC win, but they did close. It's just it took them a while to get to that point.
Yeah, they got it to within 9. LSU did, and I think Auburn got it back to 17, which is good, and then ended up winning by 15. So there was some separation there in the last 3 minutes. Auburn kind of got some of that, but again, I get it. It's frustrating. There was some laziness. There were some things that were done that just were head scratchers. But this team is so unselfish,
right,
and so bought in.
Yes.
They'll learn from it.
Why do you think Leor Berman played 4 minutes tonight?
Leor Berman is in the game for one reason and one reason only, and that is to hit wide open threes. And if he's not doing that, he's not serving a purpose. And that sounds terrible.
But why? I get that for last year's team and the year before that would just get really cold.
Mm-hmm.
This year's team, I don't know if they need that.
I think it's a case of feeling like there is some value that he can contribute. And when you're up 22, 20, something like that, that's the time to maybe give KD a blow and Denver a blow. I don't know. But I think at this point, this is the first time all year I'm a proponent for shrinking the bench and maybe going Chaney Johnson probably played his way into staying in the rotation tonight. With his 7 points.
I want to stay on Leor just for a second. I just want to stay on Leor just for a second. He played 4 minutes. Plus minus is not everything. His plus minus was -11 in 4 minutes.
That's ungodly. That's
hard to do, man.
You can't stay in the game. You can't give him minutes. If you're in 4 minutes, you're -11. That's very hard to do. So yeah, that's going to have to go away. Unfortunately for him, unless it's, the last 5 minutes of a game, you want to insert him if you're up 20, but during key moments, crunch time, that can't happen. That cannot happen.
Mm-hmm. Chad Baker-Mazara. I mean, I think he's the player of the game. I thought he was incredible and in different ways. You talk about the timeliness of when he makes big baskets. I think that certainly was a thing tonight. That 3 he made in the first half was solid. He's just, he's the dude, man.
Here's what's so encouraging, promising, a great takeaway from this game. How many did Holloway have?
Holloway had 13.
Chad Baker-Mazara had 18?
19.
19. Okay.
Janiber had 18.
Those two guys, Holloway and Chad Baker-Mazara, were invisible last game against Texas A&M.
Sure.
How much of a luxury is it for a basketball team to have two dudes that took a night off, basically? Not effort-wise, but last game just didn't get it done.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, I'm going to bounce back and combine for 32 or whatever it was. I mean,
yes,
that right there is a microcosm of this team in a nutshell.
Sure. I think this is an incredible question. Hunter asked in our live chat, at what point do Trey Donaldson and Chad Baker-Mazara start? And I think that is an outstanding question. My answer is you don't start them. You don't start them because I think the way Auburn is destroying these teams and wearing down these teams and creating these mismatches, especially to close the first half, is because the lack of drop-off, or even if there is a drop-off, when they go to their bench with Trey Donaldson and Chad Baker-Mazara. And I think that's by design. Darrell. We've seen Bruce Pearl be strategic, specifically with who starts at point guard and who comes off the bench. The year they won the SC championship with Jabari and Walker, when they started Zep Jasper, they said, okay, the scoring is on the floor. It's when the scoring comes off and the bench players come in, that's when they put Wendell Green in because he felt confident in his ability to score. They needed that pop and explosiveness coming off of the bench. I think it's a similar thing here, but I think it's more about leadership. I think the leadership and overall ability to score is on the floor when Aiden is there. And then when they bring in the twos and they start rotating guys in and out, Trey Donaldson and Chad Baker-Mazara just there's no opportunity for the opposing defense or the opposing team to catch their breath. It's just this relentless force of effort and aggression and ability to score in different ways. So my answer to that question, to Hunter's question, Darrell, is I don't think you do consider starting Trey or CBM. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I think what he's doing is intentional.
Yes.
It's with purpose, and you don't change. You don't. I've been around athletics for a long time, played, coached. The one thing you say, and I'm going to use the nice adjective here, is you never screw with a winning formula. When it's working, you don't change it. Here's the thing, though. Holloway and Trey are going to be treated differently than Chad Baker-Mazara and Chris Moore. Look at the minutes. Yep. Chris Moore will start, but Chad Baker-Mazara is in the game pretty early. Aiden, you ride a little bit longer before you put Trey in. So they're not very, just because both don't start, they're being used completely differently. Chad Baker-Mazara gets a lot more minutes than Chris Moore. So it just because he's not getting his name called with the light show, he's still getting starter minutes. Aiden and Trey is a true split. And right now that formula is working. And if Trey Donaldson is happy with that, and if Aiden Holloway is happy not being in the game at crunch time, you just ride it. It's working.
Several folks asking about Chris Moore now. I don't think Chris Moore is like a liability when he's on the floor. I don't think he's a great offensive player, but I think we've seen several players during this run that Auburn's had in this Bruce Pearl era play like Chris Moore and be effective. He played 8 minutes. Auburn was +3 while he was on the floor in those 8 minutes. Like, I don't think Chris Moore limits you in any way offensively or defensively. So he's getting 8
back on that. Yeah, I'll push back on that.
He got 8 minutes. I don't think he should get more than 15 minutes a game. But I do think he's on the floor with the starters for that reason, because the rest of the guys around him are able to score.
I think his game has regressed, and I think right now he's a liability. I think right now he's a liability on the floor, and the quicker you can get him off the floor, the better. I don't think he's playing at the level that even 8 minutes is productive. I mean, did he even score tonight?
No, he only shot it once.
Yeah, and it was a horrible shot. It was an air ball, and then he turned it over a couple. I mean, he's got to give you more even in that 8 minutes. I'm not saying
credited with a turnover.
Yeah, well, he did. He turned it over. I mean, he was
credited with a foul, an assist, and a block in 8 minutes.
he turned it over. Somehow the official score missed that, but I'll just, and I'm not trying to harp on the kid, but I'll just say this: even in 8 minutes, I'm not asking him to give you 8 points. I'm saying maybe give you 4, maybe give you a rebound or 2, and maybe he's not bringing anything efficiency wise. He's a +3 because who he's on the floor with. Period.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think you can say that about a lot of people, though.
Well, except Trey Donaldson. I think he helps make his plus minus,
100%. I think Trey's great. No question.
Chris Moore's a glue guy. I've said that 2 years ago. I just want to see him give you a couple baskets, a couple rebounds, and then, okay, if he plays 8 or 10, it's got to look better than that stat line. That's a liability stat line right now, and it's got to improve.
Yeah, I'm with you. Okay. Is Auburn the best player, is Auburn the best team in the SEC? We discuss that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at GameTime. GameTime is the best way to buy your tickets. Darrell, you love going to sporting events. You love going to concerts, events. We all do.
All of it. Yep.
Yeah, and it's fun. You're supposed to look forward to it. It's not supposed to be stressful. You're not supposed to worry about it. And the thing I focus on is like, man, I hope I'm not like overspending on these tickets. I just don't have the time or the willpower to just look through all these apps and say, okay, what's the best deal? Like, what are these tickets actually worth? Game Time, you don't have to worry about that. They have the Game Time guarantee. It means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less elsewhere, they'll credit you with 110% of the difference. That's how confident they are. They are giving you the best deal. I love that. Darrell, you've used Game Time several times. I've used Game Time several times. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Is Auburn the best team in the SEC with Kentucky losing against Texas A&M? I believe that game went into overtime. I was not able to watch it, but I believe it went into overtime. To me, I think right now you have to say Auburn is the best team in the Southeastern Conference.
Yeah, because you're asking about the question in the moment. Right now, in the present, Auburn is the best team in the SEC. I mean, Kentucky, got beat by Texas A&M, and really the officiating was very questionable down the stretch to allow them to even get into overtime and then during overtime. So, I think the only unbeatens left is Auburn and Alabama, I believe, in the SEC. And Alabama hasn't looked as good as Auburn has in conference play and hasn't played the opponents that Auburn has. So right now, as we're sitting here on January 13th, absolutely Auburn is the best team in the SEC. And I agree with a lot of the national announcers that come in here and say, you find me 15 other teams in the country that are better than Auburn right now? I don't see it. So I think that combination is absolutely valid. And yes, they're right. They are the best team right now.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. The highest rated in KenPom. We'll see if the voters care about that. They used to use KenPom as an argument against Auburn, and now when Auburn is rated highly in KenPom, they choose to ignore it. It's kind of funny how that works out. So, Lucio is saying Auburn should be 3 in KenPom. I don't know what that's based on. It doesn't look like they've updated, but we'll see.
We've got to give my man some props now. We got to say it. We got to do it right. Remember, it's Lucio.
Lucio.
Yeah, you got to do it with your hand. The hand helps you sound out the syllables in it.
Thank you.
Right.
I'm so uncultured. Thanks.
Well, it's not culture. It's just an Italian thing. It's not nothing to do with culture.
I think it. Yeah. Okay. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
All right. What? Who else stepped up in your mind?
Dylan Cardwell.
Tonight.
Dylan Cardwell. That Baker dude was eating Broom's lunch, taking him to the rack, going left-handed, right-handed, Euro step, scoop. Dylan Cardwell comes in the game and blocks his stuff 3 times on 2 consecutive possessions down the floor. Once he did it twice on the same possession. Guy went up, block. And then, the dunk. And then here's the thing. He hit 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Dylan Card. So again, the maturation, working on my game, improving, crucial coming off the bench. Dylan Cardwell is fitting that bill. And I don't know how many he ended up with points wise, but his defense
5.
was stellar. His hustle, his blocking, his saves, all that stuff that he did. How many blocks did he have, Zach? Did he have 4? What did
4.
they credit him? Yeah.
4. And a steal.
And how many rebounds?
6.
See, that's a great stat line for a backup center. That's just wonderful. And then he gets the crowd into it, and he's an energy guy, and he injects enthusiasm. I love him, and I think he was one of the key players tonight.
Yeah, he's been just an absolutely incredible surprise for this team. All right, 2 other stat lines I want to talk about here. Let's start with Jalen Williams, who is continuing just to get it done. 9 points of 2. He's only shot it twice officially. Got fouled a fair amount, but 2 of 2. And both of those were 3-pointers. And it's like, Jalen, shoot it again. Like, if you're starting 2 for 2, shoot it more.
And it's also, we talk about when that was a dagger at the end of the first half, that 4-point play.
Yeah.
LSU has a chance to maybe cut it to 10, 9, something like that, feel good about themselves going in at halftime, and then they go in down 16 because of that. So big swing there. So yeah, but I do want to see him. He should have had 14 or 15 with the limited amount of shots he took. He should have shot it more.
With a game like tonight, if he shot it 5 times, he probably gets there, which is crazy.
I'm so glad the national announcers are saying some of the things that Zach and Darrell have been saying on this podcast all year. 2 points. Number one, they talked about there's not a better backup center in the league than Dylan Cardwell and how many teams would love to have him. We've been screaming that from the rooftops.
Right.
And they said that Auburn has the best 4-5 combination in the conference. And we've been saying that with Jalen emerging to go alongside Broom. So either they're watching this show, which wouldn't surprise me with you getting over 15,000 subscribers.
Yes.
Or we're all thinking the same. So there you go.
Before I get to this other person's stat line, Free throws, 27 of 31. I love that.
Take that all day. Take that all day. Yeah.
I love that. And I think that's the difference between Auburn just kind of edging these games out versus winning comfortably, because in past, if they shoot 70%, then all of a sudden it's like actually close with a few possessions left, which would have been worse. So props to them for doing that. That's kind of the thing where we don't talk about it when they're doing that well, and then it's all we talk about when they're doing it poorly. So good for them on that.
That's a great point. It's almost like officiating
linemen or
an offensive lineman. You don't hear about them. They're doing the best. And I think Auburn, when you're not talking about their free throws, is because they're getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
And the turnovers, look, I looked up at one point tonight, and LSU had like 11 turnovers and Auburn had 2. I think that evened out some of the second half. But at one point during the game, Auburn was like a +9 in turnovers. And you're not beating Auburn.
LSU had 17 turnovers. Auburn had 8.
Wow. So even though it looked like Auburn was turning it over a lot more in the second half, I think they also caused LSU to turn it over too. So it kind of kept it that +9. That's pretty good. So they did a lot better job of stringing that out. You're not going to beat Auburn when you're -9 on the turnover ledger. You're just not.
You're not. I mean, that's correct. Yeah, the only thing they really beat us on were rebounding and second chance points, which that's now 2 games in a row. But Texas A&M's very good at that. But I don't think it's a concern yet, but I do think we should watch for that moving forward. Offensive boards in conference play, I think that's something we need to kind of I'm not panicking or saying it's an issue, but I do think we should look at that moving forward. So just a thought. I
agree. Right. That could hurt you later. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a big thing in tournament play for sure. The other guy I want to talk about is Chaney Johnson. 3 for 4, 7 points in 15 minutes. Chaney Johnson, if you do that every game, I mean, that's all we need. That is all we need from Chaney Johnson. And we hadn't really gotten that consistently. So I thought that was great. That was the best he's looked in SEC play.
Hit a big 3 and then had a monstrous dunk. That's one of those things that, again, it just, it blows the roof off the place. The environment changes. The energy level changes. A great dunk. He hit a 3, and then he had what should have been a 3-point play late in the second half. They didn't call the foul with him driving to the basket. So,
sure.
You take 7 points in 15 minutes, and he's playing the 4. So he's giving Jalen Williams a little bit of a blow. So now the 4 position tonight, which underachieved a little bit because Jalen didn't shoot it enough, still is decent, respectable. You got 16 points out of the 4 spot tonight to go along with 24 points out of the 5 spot. That's that front court, man. It's just, it's hard to beat Auburn when the front court's playing that well, and then you start getting guard play like you got from Holloway and Chad Baker-Mazara, which I guess the 3 is technically considered a small forward, but you could break it down any way you want.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on how
what you're running. Now he's long and lanky. He to me is more of a forward than he is a guard, but whatever.
Right. All right, drop your player of the game and the live chat. I'm curious to see what you guys say. I think it's Chad Baker-Mazara, but you certainly can make the argument for Janai Broome. I think you could honestly make it for Trey Donaldson. You really could make it for Dylan Cardwell if you wanted to, too. I mean, it seems to be a theme with this team is every game you can make the case for a couple of different folks. Brent saying Chris Moore. So that's a take, too. Show your work in the chat, please, Brent. I'm just curious. Let's just see what you can do. Let's just see what you can do. Yeah, Darrell, drive to your house. Because he's devastated that his Browns lost, so be careful.
I'm excited
on that. Yeah.
They turned into the pumpkin that they are.
A lot of people saying Chad Baker-Mazara, Trey Donaldson, Dylan. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot. You can make the argument for a lot of different guys. So I think that's awesome. Interested to see Alabama and Mississippi State play. That tips off like right now. So excited to see what that looks like. Let's do our favorite thing that we do towards the end of every show is let's predict Auburn's next 5 games. I think, all right, well, okay, so they beat LSU. So they go to Vandy on Wednesday, another midweek 8:00 tip, Darrell. Yes.
Coffee
That's our
time.
favorite thing.
Coffee time.
Yeah, plainscoffee.com. Use promo code Auburn for that one. Ole Miss at home a week from now. They go to Alabama the following Wednesday. They go to Mississippi State, kind of a tricky 2-game road trip there. And then we host Vanderbilt again. So I think Auburn goes 2-0 against Vandy. I think they beat Ole Miss at home, 3-0. I think they beat Mississippi State in Starkville. I'm not sold on Mississippi State. I know everybody loves to talk about their defense, but I don't know. I think Auburn loses in Alabama. So I got 4-1 of the next 5.
Yeah, I think I got 4-1 as well. And now this game tonight between Alabama and Mississippi State will dictate which game I think they'll lose, which is such a cop-out. But if Mississippi State beats Alabama, at the hump, then I think that Auburn could drop that game. They beat Tennessee, who was number 5 in the country in Starkville. So it's not like Auburn can go in there and not get beat. They can. But I don't think Auburn gets beat by both Alabama and Mississippi State on the road back-to-back. I think Auburn splits. So I, as well, am going to say 4-1 over the next 5.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's 4-1. I think it's 4-1. Vandy doesn't scare me. Ole Miss, I think Ole Miss is good unless they play good teams. I think Auburn's a good team.
They're going to be tight coming into. They're going to be tight next Saturday coming in Neville. Flanagan's going to be tight. That team's going to be tight. The energy off of him that he's going to give off, and that place, Auburn, the arena is going to be jumping Saturday. So it's going to be one of those games that I think Auburn's going to play really, really well. It's going to be high intensity, high energy in that building, and I think Auburn's going to win going away, really.
Thoughts on Bo Nix attending the game tonight?
I mean,
whatevs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad the reception that he got sounded like it was very good, and people cheered and were very, very appreciative of him, and he got a nice ovation. So, I don't know. This whole transfer portal thing's got me just so confused about who claims a kid, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it's like you and I growing up with what plaque people were going to go into the Hall of Fame when they played for multiple teams. Who claims Bo Nix? Does Oregon claim him because he had 2 phenomenal years, a Heisman candidate, or does Auburn, where he played 3 years? I don't know. I don't know who gets to claim the kid. I don't know if he's an Auburn man or an Oregon man. I don't know. It's confusing.
Yeah. All right. I think this is a good comment to wrap it up on. And guys, please subscribe. Please like the video. But Randall says, I hate Brian Harsin. So we'll leave it at that.
There you go, Randall. There you go.
We'll leave it at that. Well said, Randall. We'll see. We'll see what happens with old Hars moving forward. Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, DAP6410, Monday mornings and Tuesday afternoon on various shows on the Auburn Network. I'll be back with you Wednesday after the Vanderbilt game. Plains Coffee Time. We'll be drinking it up. And then Fridays, regular Friday mornings, a lot to talk about. I suspect it's going to happen this week with Auburn coaches, transfers, that kind of thing.
Yep. Plainscoffee.com. That is me and my wife's coffee company. Be sure to check that out. Use promo code Auburn. Get 10% off there. So please subscribe, like the video once again. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Thank you so much for 15,000 subscribers on YouTube. Absolutely insane. We will see you Monday morning right here on Locked On Auburn.